Hello, my name is Ensign Bob Birtwhistle of His Majesty's 32nd Cornwall Regiment of Foot. Before talking about the 32nd's overall involvement in the Battle of Waterloo, I wanted first to say something about my family links with the regiment, and in particular to introduce you to my relative John Birtwhistle, who was the first of 4 family members to serve as officers in the 32nd Regiment, or DCLI, amassing a total of nearly 100 years of service between them. John Birtwhistle was commissioned without purchase as an ensign in the 32nd Regiment in April 1813, at the age of 21, and saw his first action in April 1814 at the end of the Peninsular War. Immediately ahead of Waterloo, the 32nd were of course heavily involved at the Battle of Quatre Bras, where the regiment sustained significant casualties. During that battle, a French shell exploded above the regimental colour, severely damaging the silk, as well as many of the officers and men in the vicinity. This included Ensign McConchy, who'd been carrying the colour. As next in seniority, it therefore fell to Ensign John Birtwhistle, although himself also wounded at Quatre Bras, to take the honour and responsibility of carrying the regimental colour onto the field at Waterloo 2 days later. At Waterloo, the 32nd were positioned in the centre left of the Allied position, close to the crossroads on the Brussels to Charleroi road, with the sandpit and La Haye Saint farmhouse below and to the right of them. Commanded on the field by Lieutenant Colonel John Higgs, they in turn were part of the 8th British Brigade, commanded by Major General James Kemp, which was part of Lieutenant General Thomas Picton's 5th Infantry Division. After their initial assaults on Chateau Hougoumont on the Allies' right wing, the French then turned their attentions on the Allies' centre and left, initially with heavy artillery, and then with a series of ferocious assaults by French troops and cavalry under the command of Marshal d'Erlon. After stoically standing their ground against the initial assaults, in both square and line, Picton's division, including the 32nd, then charged the French with fixed bayonets and repulsed the attack. Unfortunately, during the attack, Sir Thomas Picton received a ball through his right temple, and he fell dead from his horse. His body was borne off the field by 2 grenadiers of the 32nd Regiment. Also during the French assault, a major incident occurred when a French officer managed to seize the King's colour belonging to the 32nd Regiment. However, the colour was saved by the swift action of Colour Sergeant Schweitzer, together with Ensign Birtwhistle. This incident was subsequently portrayed in a painting by the war artist Richard Simkin, depicting the event, and this now hangs in the 32nd Regimental Museum in Bodmin. The text under the painting states, "During the charge, a French officer attempts to seize the King's colour of the 32nd Regiment, but was instantly run through the body by Sergeant Schweitzer's pike and also by the sword of Ensign Birtwhistle. At a later point in the battle, Ensign Birtwhistle was himself severely wounded, one of many 32nd officers and men killed and wounded during the campaign. At the start of the 16th of June 1815, the 32nd Regiment comprised 647 men of all ranks. By the end of the 18th of June, the 32nd were reduced to just 131 standing. But as the regimental record also proudly states, the regiment had not a single absentee. Following the battle, an extract from divisional orders on the 5th of July 1815 records, the 32nd Regiment will join the 6th Division this day, according to General Order of 3rd instant. Went on to say, Major General Sir James Kemp feels he cannot part with this regiment without again expressing the very high sense he entertains of its very distinguished conduct in the battles of the 16th and 18th of June. It was quite impossible for troops to behave more nobly or better than the 32nd Regiment did on those occasions. And he begs Lieutenant Colonel Hicks, the officers and men will accept of his thanks for their distinguished services while under his command. As to Ensign Birtwhistle, I'm pleased to report that he did survive and was able to recover from his wounds. He eventually rejoined the regiment for a further 26 years of active service in the Mediterranean, in Ireland, and in Canada, being promoted to the rank of regimental major in 1838, before being retired on half pay in 1841. He died in 1867, aged 75, with the rank of Major General. Unfortunately, we have no portrait or picture of John Birtwhistle in military uniform, although we do have his Waterloo medal. Interestingly, I do also have a letter from John B. to a young relative, dated June 1862, stating, I never had my visage daubed on canvas or on card, and mean it to remain so, for I cannot see the use of a memento of a person such as I am. When he dies and put out of the way, all should die with him and be forgotten. I believe that this letter was in response to a request for a photograph, probably to be included in a family photo album being created as a present for another family member's 30th birthday in March 1863. It would seem, however, that the younger relative eventually got her way and managed to get a photograph taken and included in the family photo album. In the photograph, if you look carefully at the hairline and the way that John is sitting, i.e. to hide much of the right-hand side of his face, then I believe he may well be hiding some level of disfigurement from Waterloo, which is probably the real reason he'd never wanted his portrait painted or photograph taken. With this sort of family history, you can probably imagine the mix of personal emotions and the sense of pride when in 2015 at Waterloo 200, the 32nd faced the French on virtually the same spot that the 32nd had stood 200 years earlier. And it was another Ensign Birtwhistle, this time myself, Ensign Bob Birtwhistle, who carried the regimental colour of the 32nd Regiment out onto the battlefield at Waterloo. As I reported at the time, a newer, older version, and certainly one not so brave. Regimental history, family history. Thank you.